Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Risch, and thanks to the witnesses for being here today. A point and then a set of questions. So one point is this: a hearing about lessons learned from Afghanistan has kind of a past tense tone to it. And I think we have to acknowledge that we're not talking purely in the past tense. There's an ongoing chapter that is a very important chapter. The United States military helped bring 70,000 Afghans to the United States during this evacuation. The last chapter isn't, people trying to get on planes. No, there's an ongoing chapter about 70,000 Afghans who were thrilled to have an opportunity for a life in the United States, and the ongoing need that we have as members of Congress to make sure that their resettlement is as successful as possible. 3 of the bases where the Afghans have been relocated during the resettlement process are in Virginia, Quantico, Fort Pickett, and Fort Lee. The last Afghan left Fort Lee this morning. They had around 2,000, and Fort Lee is now, there are no Afghans there. We've resettled about 25,000 Afghans, have 45,000 still to resettle. Most are being resettled under a 2-year DHS humanitarian parole. Congress needs to figure out what is the next chapter for these brave families who have helped the United States beyond that 2-year period. We have work to do on that. We have work to do to support the resettlement process. I visited Fort Pickett last Wednesday, the day before Veterans Day, and I visited with our troops and with our contractors and with our physicians, but I also visited with a lot of Afghan families, and I told them tomorrow's Veterans Day in the United States, and I've got to give 2 Veterans Day speeches. If you were giving the speeches instead of me, what would you say to American troops and veterans? And what I heard was so emotional, so gratifying, so powerful. One young man told me the Americans saved my life 3 times. And I said, well, tell me what you mean by that. First, the American troops saved my life by coming to Afghanistan and rescuing us from chaos. Second, the American troops saved my life. I started to work for them. And when my life was in danger, they talked me into applying for an SIV and helped me get it. And I came to the United States in 2017, and I'm safe here. And I said, well, what about the 3rd time? You came here in 2017. American troops saved my life a 3rd time just 2 months ago because U.S. Marines went out and found my mother and father and made sure that they got to the airport in Kabul. And now they're here with me. I never thought I would see them again. And you saved my life a 3rd time by reconnecting me with my family. So as we talk about Afghanistan, I wouldn't want to suggest that the last chapter are those disturbing pictures of chaos at the airport. No, the last chapter is a chapter we have to write for 70,000 Afghans, about 45% of whom are children, who we have brought to the United States, who we have given a new opportunity for a life in a land of better opportunity. And we have to make sure that that resettlement process works. And I'm going to do all I can to make sure that it does. I'm going to pick up a little bit on Senator Paul's questions about time. And there's many lessons learned. One lesson that I hope we'll explore is congressional oversight. Congressional oversight of war. We're going to have a vote sometime in the next day or so, I believe, about repeal of the Iraq war authorizations. The war ended 10 years ago, but the authorizations remain on the books, and we're going to have a vote about whether we should repeal authorizations and not have a pending war authorization against a country that we now work as a partner with. And I worry a little bit about the war authorization for Afghanistan. It was passed in the days after 9/11, and clearly we needed to undertake military action to respond to that. But the war authorization had no geographic limitation. It had no real definition of what the mission was. It had no time limit on it. And I wonder if in the future, and if either of the witnesses have an opinion about this, we'll be tested again, and we'll probably have to pass war authorizations again because it's a dangerous world. But I'm pretty inclined to believe if we do these now, we should have review periods and sunset periods that force really in-depth analysis of what's the mission now, how are we defining success, what are the benchmarks, should we continue to invest American lives and treasure in this military mission? And I worry that the open-ended war authorizations that just kind of allow the executive to carry out war on autopilot are sort of an abdication of a congressional oversight responsibility. My time is almost up. Mr. Chair, if you would allow either witness to answer that, maybe I would love to hear what they had to say.
All right. Gentleman has adeptly used all his time asking the question and positing the issue.